Hi, fourth graders. This is Mrs. Pellegrini. The fourth graders will be studying Where is the United States? This information can be found on pages 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 in your social studies textbook, States and Regions. We have put all of the information in a very simple slideshow, which includes Quizlet review cards. It includes screenshots of the actual pages, and I will be reading it aloud to you so you can listen and read aloud as we go through this information. So the next slide, you can find the Quizlet link for all of the important highlighted words in this section of Where is the United States? And we are going to start on page 12. So this is what your textbook looks like, page 12. Where is the United States? And it says, you are here. Your homework is very interesting tonight. You will write an email you might send to a student in China. In your email, you write, I live in the United States. The student in China might not know where the United States is, your mother says. She smiles and points to a globe of the world across the room. Try looking at the globe. It will help you describe where the United States is on Earth. So now we're on page 13. At the top of the page, it says global address. So just like we all have house or apartment addresses, the United States has a global address. So just as an aside, when people say, where do you live? You can say, well, I live in Berkeley Heights or I live in New Jersey. But if they wanted to come visit you, they wouldn't exactly be able to find out where you live. But if you say to them, I live at 55 Columbus Avenue, Berkeley Heights, New Jersey, they would probably be able to walk or get in their car and find your exact location. So we are going to be discussing those two things, but on a global discussion. So at the top of the page, it says there are many ways to describe a place's location. One way is to give its global address, or where it is on Earth. Which hemispheres? To give the global address of the United States, you can say in which hemispheres or halves of Earth it lies. Geographers use two imaginary lines to divide Earth into hemispheres. One line, called the equator, circles Earth halfway between the United States and the South Pole. Every place north of the equator is in the northern hemisphere. Every place south of the equator is in the southern hemisphere. Because the United States lies north of the equator, it is in the northern hemisphere. Another imaginary line, called the prime meridian, divides Earth into the western and eastern hemispheres. Because the United States lies west of the prime meridian, it is in the western hemisphere. Which continent? You can also use continents to describe the global address of the United States. The 7 continents are the largest land areas on Earth. The United States is part of the continent of North America. So, just to recap, the United States is in the northern hemisphere and it is in the western hemisphere. Moving on to page 14, relative location. Another way to describe a place's location is to give its relative location. The relative location of a place is where it is in relation to other places on Earth. Between two countries. You can use other countries to describe relative location. Most of the United States lies south of Canada and north of Mexico. In fact, our nation shares its northern border with Canada and much of its southern border with Mexico. A border is a line that shows the end of a place. between two oceans. You can also use bodies of water to describe relative location. Water covers most of Earth's surface. Most of that water is in the oceans. The United States lies between two of the world's oceans. The Pacific Ocean forms the country's western border. The Atlantic Ocean is its eastern border. Your state's relative location. There are ways to describe in more detail where you live. You could name your state and describe its relative location. Most Americans live in one of the 48 states that lie between Canada and Mexico. So on page 15, we're going to continue. Perhaps you live near the Gulf of Mexico. A gulf is a part of an ocean or sea that reaches into the land. The Gulf of Mexico is part of the Atlantic Ocean. It forms part of the southern border of the United States. So now if you look at the summary down below, it says the United States is located on the continent of North America in the northern and western hemispheres. The Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, Canada, and Mexico form its borders. Page 16, using latitude and longitude. Why it matters. By stating latitude and longitude, you can describe the absolute location or the exact location of a place. Lines of latitude and longitude cross to form a grid over a map or globe, and you can see the picture below. To describe a place's absolute location or the exact location, you name the line of latitude and line of longitude closest to it. Lines of latitude run east and west. The equator is a line of latitude. Find the equator on map A. That's down below. It is marked 0 degrees, or 0 degrees in words. So we have standard form and we have word form. All other lines of latitude are measured in degrees north or south of the equator. So you'll see the little n or you'll see the s. Lines of longitude run north and south. The prime meridian is a line of longitude. Find the prime meridian on map A. Like the equator, it is marked 0 degrees. All other lines of longitude are measured in degrees east, capital E, or capital W for west from the prime meridian. And then you may use this page to help you see that we have all of the measurements of lines of latitude and longitude and how the grid system runs across the United States. You may read your textbook on your own at any time. You may use the Quizlet cards at any time to practice the terms related to these pages.